Assalamu alaikum. Let's cook. People, this story took place in December of 2024. 18-year-old black child by the name of Malachi Lancaster. He was shot and killed during a hunting trip in Florida. Now, he went on this hunting trip with a so-called white friend, and he did not go back home. People, I gotta say this also. I noticed that there are quite a few people who are looking for trauma-based entertainment, meaning these are black folks who, are so used to bad things happening, they don't care when these situations come up. They don't look at it like it can be them. And you'll see them say things like, that happened in December 2024. That's old. That was 2 years ago. You'll see this from a lot of black people, you know what I mean? And they never heard the story before. It's a new story to them. But they'll say, man, that's old. That's a sick Negro to me. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about you, the listener on this channel. Here, I don't care if a story went down in the 1800s. I bring it up as a reminder. So Malachi Lancaster, he was an honor roll student, athlete, a good son, good brother. He had dreams of entrepreneurship and ministry. Now, this young man right here, Malachi, he was the homecoming king at Newberry High School near Gainesville, Florida. He was doing big things, a good boy, good young man. December 8th, 2024, he went hunting with his friend, his so-called friend. They went deer hunting. I guess Malachi knew how to shoot. He knew how to hunt, I believe. So him and a white 16-year-old friend went out in the woods somewhere in a forested area. Now, after hours of not seeing any deer, they left their tree stand. They started to walk home. Investigators said that Malachi moved through the brush while holding his rifle, and the brush caught a trigger and the gun discharged. The bullet struck him in the back and exited through his chest. Now, the Fish and Wildlife Commission also said that neither teen had a valid hunting license or had completed a required hunter safety course. So the Fish and Wildlife Commission ruled this accidental. Okay, Malachi went to the hospital. He passed away at the hospital. This bullet went through his back, out of his chest. So this is what they say, y'all. It's just that stupid. He went on a hunting trip with a 16-year-old white friend, so-called. Malachi ends up dead. They say, oh, accidental. Now the family of Malachi says, no, not good enough. They dispute that conclusion. They say that there are several specific inconsistencies that stand out. We ain't going for it. The 16-year-old friend, the white person, who was the only witness, told authorities initially that the shooting happened while Malachi was climbing down from a tree stand. Okay, now this version of the story, he told to the responding deputy the same night. That's the story. Malachi was coming down from a tree stand. Something happened and he shot himself. The weapon discharged, boom, went through his back, out of his chest. But in the final report, it changed. The final report says that Malachi was walking through the brush and his trigger hit a snag or a twig or whatever, a part of the brush. The gun discharged, hit him in the back, went out of his chest. So the story changed from coming down a tree stand to the brush. That's a big change right there. That's a big change. So his family's like, nah. His mother, her name is Sophie Lancaster. She says the medical examiner told her that the witness account of what happened did not match Malachi's actual injuries. Now, the lead investigator in this situation suggested that the rifle could have got caught on a vine and fired, but a month after Malachi died, the witness, who's the other white person who was there with Malachi, this so-called friend, his father went and replaced the shrubbery at the scene with rock landscaping, which Malachi's family says that compromises the scene. That compromises the crime scene before we can do an independent re-examination and see what really happened here. You know what I mean? So Malachi's mother, Sophie Lancaster, says that she was not aware her son was going to go hunting that day and wish that she had a chance to talk to him about safety procedures first. It's just that stupid, y'all. So what happened to Malachi? What did his so-called friends say? This 16-year-old so-called white friend changed the story too many times, man. It's too inconsistent from the one story to the other. And the evidence tells a different story. The medical examiner could not confirm that this incident was accidental or not. So the medical examiner ruled this case undetermined due to these conflicting accounts and unclear forensic evidence. Ballistics, DNA, this analysis was inconclusive. The bullet that killed Malachi, it couldn't be matched to either firearm on scene with certainty, okay? Not saying it wasn't, but they just couldn't match it with certainty, saying, we know this definitely came from here. They couldn't do that. Then we have an eyewitness. The only other person there gave two different versions of what happened, okay? The crime scene wasn't properly preserved. Why did the father go do this? And despite all of this, the Fish and Wildlife Commission, they closed the case and they declared it non-criminal, no grand jury, no full homicide investigation, no accountability. Now, Malachi's father is a retired military veteran. He's currently in law enforcement also. He spent his life, in the military, protecting and serving and things like that. And Malachi's family is asking the Florida Department of Law Enforcement to intervene, reopen this investigation, bring in independent experts, review all of this forensic evidence, and do a complete and unbiased examination of what really happened that day. There's a petition as well that they want people to sign. I will put it in the pinned comment. If you don't see it, just shoot me a reminder in the comments. I'll make sure I pin this comment and put it there. But people, what do y'all think about this, man? In the state of Florida, keep it real, man. What do you think? Your opinion, don't water it down. Do you think that this family is going to get an independent investigation in the state of Florida? This is another white person that would be the suspect right here. That's the only person that would be the suspect. If Malachi didn't do this to himself, if his trigger didn't hit a bush or a twig or whatever they trying to say, this white person would be in trouble for this. So, let me know what y'all think, man. Let me know what y'all think. This is just crazy. Like, who else did this happen to? Who else did this happen to? You go out with another person and you're not coming back. What happened? Oh, his gun trigger hit a twig. Come on, man. Really messed up story. Condolences to the family of Malachi Lancaster. This story is similar, but not exactly like the story that I covered in the past with Peter Bernardo Spencer, 29-year-old, real foolish. This was a Jamaican dude right here, 2021, okay? Pennsylvania, Venango County, Pennsylvania. Peter Bernardo Spencer, he goes out in the woods to this creepy looking cabin with 4 other white dudes, co-workers. They got guns, they got drugs. And Peter Bernardo Spencer, he's shot 9 times by a white co-worker and so-called friend, the one who invited him to this property. The DA of this county said, nope, he acted in self-defense. This will stand your ground. No charges will be filed. It's a wrap. It's a dunion. It's over. They did toxicology reports, and it stated that Peter Spencer, the Jamaican young man, he had ingested marijuana and some psychedelic mushrooms, and they claimed that this triggered him acting erratic and aggressive and things like that. They reported that Peter Spencer fired an AK-47 first in the air, and he pointed it at other people in defense, they said, or whatever, and they drew a gun out and they fired in self-defense. Who knows, man? Peter Spencer's family, they have a legal team and all that. That's probably over with by now. I'm not sure. They're calling for a federal civil rights investigation. You'll never get that in the state of Pennsylvania. It's not going down, but still, condolences to the family of Peter Spencer. All them white folks walked out there in the woods. You got shot 9 times. They said he started wilding. They had to shoot you in self-defense. Look at this creepy cabin they're at. What are you doing as a black person even going into this horror movie looking cabin in Pennsylvania? Look at this thing, man. And once they found drugs in the system, they'll put it all on that. You know what I mean? Now, I ain't saying Peter Spencer did what they're saying went down. This could have been a setup from the jump, but in Pennsylvania, the camaraderie with black people and white people in these places, especially in this part of Pennsylvania, the camaraderie or the connection with black and white people is always grounded in drugs or football. That's it. Ain't no white people hanging out with no black people in these parts of Pennsylvania unless it's drugs, beer, and football involved, or if it's one of them old fat boo bears that's trying to get with a black dude or whatever, then they might have a connection. But they usually using drugs too and stuff like that. That's usually the connection. You would not see, stable, professional white people who are taking advantage of being white in America and doing the right thing, you know what I mean, hanging out with some black people in Pennsylvania unless it's grounded in football or drug use. That's it. You know what I mean? So what are you doing going out here to this cabin in this spooky, horrific, scary movie type scene? People, you see these stories on some major news outlets, you see the comment sections, and you really see them on social media. And when you go on social media, it's when you really see what black people are saying. And I'm gonna tell you something that's really discouraging if you're black. If you go through the comments in these stories where clearly a black person might have been young and they probably put themselves in a bad situation based off of our history and our current events. They put themselves in a bad situation with white people. If you go through the comments in these stories and you see a lot of comments by black people, they'll primarily be talking about how this has got to stop, how we need justice and reparations. They got to stop doing this to our kings. They taking us out. They'll be adding Ben Crump and NAACP and Al Sharpton and all this other stuff. You'll see that a lot. Oh, they got to cut this out. Very seldom will you see people talking about the tragedy and the positions that we put ourselves in and how these things happen. Not saying anybody deserved it at all, but you won't see people talking too much about how this could have been prevented, because that's all you could do now when you get these stories is try to do something to prevent this from happening to the next young black person. But you'll see all these old black people barking and pretty much begging white people to be better. Just begging white people to be better and treat us better. They may not be saying that in actual words that they write, but deep inside their hearts, that's how a lot of black people think, as opposed to just thinking, let's be more proactive. This just happened to such and such. What can we do so that it doesn't happen to the next young people? What information can we put out there? As opposed to that, you'll see more black people begging white people to be better and calling for Ben Crump and Al Sharpton and saying stuff like they doing this to our kings. You know what I mean? This is crazy, man. I hate to pee in your cornflakes. A lot of these Negroes, y'all, it ain't looking good, y'all. It ain't looking good. And to those people who write that stuff, listen, white people will never become better. Actually, they get worse and worse by the month. When have you ever seen white people's behavior change towards you? It's not going to happen. Stop begging. Stop asking Ben Crump and these other shine bone buck dancing Greek Negroes who don't care if you live or die to come help you. Use your own brain and be proactive and stop putting yourselves in these situations, man. Not saying something bad can't happen, but it's too many of these Negroes who are always begging white people to be better or begging a black person to go ahead and be a liaison between them and these white people to talk to them and have a huggy bean. Like, come on, man. It's looking bad, y'all. That's the way it is, people. Get in the comments easy.